All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to explain subtracting two simple fractions with unlike denominators in a nice, easy, visual way that does not require us to teach students something like you got to get common denominators and whatever you do to the bottom number, you got to do the top number and all that baloney. Those are just rules. So instead, we're going to use a visual representation, specifically a tape diagram, to make sense of this. So here we go. We've got 3/4 and 2/3. All right, so we are going to first draw a picture of each of those fractions. And there's my 3/4. Here's going to be my 2/3. All right, so the first thing we have to do is draw. What does 3/4 look like? Well, it means we're going to cut that tape into 4 equal-sized pieces, and then we are going to shade in 3 of those pieces. 1, 2, and 3. And then what does 2/3 mean? Well, 2/3 means we're going to chop it up into 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3, like that. And then we are going to shade in 2 of those pieces. So right here is 1/3. And then here is 1/3. And so now we have our 3/4 right here, 3/4, and we have our 2/3 right there. Now, when we're subtracting, we need to know how, you have to have like units. So that's the rule, right? But it doesn't make sense to take away 3 little things and then take away 2 big things from those 3 little things. We just don't know what that means. So what we have to do is we have to have common units. But the way we're going to do that is we are going to use a little bit of logic. And our logic is, well, I've got 4 pieces here and I've got 3 pieces here. If I take each of the 4 pieces and cut them into 3, and then cut each of the 3 pieces into 4, that's going to give us like units. So let's do that. So I'm going to cut each of the 4ths into 3 pieces, and then I'm going to cut each of the 3rds into 4 pieces. And now all of a sudden we can see that our units are the same length, same size. I didn't do a perfect job drawing them, clearly. It's a little messy in the middle, but we start to see that we now have 12ths, don't we? Because we took each of these 4 pieces and cut them into 3. So look at that. 4 times 3 gives us 12. And then because there were originally 3 that were shaded in, 3 times 3, so I'm going to say this is our 3, times 3 gives us 9. So 3/4 is the exact same thing as 9/12. Now we're going to do the same thing down here with our 3rds. We had, let's see, go away. Okay, there's a 3rd, there's a 3rd, and there's a 3rd. Each of them were cut into 4 pieces. So that gave us 12ths. And then we originally had 2 3rds, but they were each cut into 4 pieces. So now we have 8 12ths. All right, so I'm going to move this down a little bit, get it slightly out of the way. And so 3/4 is no longer 3/4. 3/4 is now 9/12. And 2/3 is no longer 2/3. 2/3 is 8/12. And we can see from subtraction that the difference between these 2 fractions is just this one little 12th right here. So 9/12. Take away 8/12 leaves us with 1/12. There you go. Let's do one quick more example. Oh, let's say we've got 3/5 take away 1/4. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to start by drawing each of these tapes and duplicate. There we go. All right, so we're going to draw each of those fractions. We're going to start by drawing 3/5, and then we're going to draw 1/4. All right, so what does 3/5 look like? Oh my goodness, it's going to be cut. Oh, that doesn't look very equal fifths, but we're going to pretend that's close enough. My goodness, let's see. Can I make it a little bit better? Just a little bit. Come on, let's go for it. There we go. So there's going to be my 3/5. Oh, let's do it in green. So we got 1, 2, and 3. And then we've got our fourths. So our fourths is going to be pretty easy to cut those into fourths. And we only need to shade in one of those fourths. So let's do it in blue. And there we go. All right. Now at this point, we cannot take away one blue fourth because we don't know how much a blue fourth is. So we're going to get our common denominators. How are we going to do that? We're going to take each of our fifths and cut them into 4 pieces. And then we're going to cut each of our fourths and cut them into 5 pieces. So let's do that. Let's do blue. And we're going to take each of our fifths and cut them into 4 pieces. There's a fifth cut into 4 pieces. Here's a fifth cut into 4 pieces. Another fifth and another fifth, all cut into 4 pieces. And then let's do that same idea down here with our fourths. We're going to take each of our fourths and we're going to cut them into 5 pieces. And so that's going to look like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And ideally, those pieces are supposed to look the same. It doesn't look perfect, but that's okay. We're going to look at them with our math eyes. All right, and look at this. We no longer have 3/5. What do we have? Well, each of our original fifths were cut into 4 pieces. So that means we have 5 times 4. We now have 20ths. And these 3/5 were cut into 4 pieces. So we have 12 20ths. And now let's do the same thing with our fourths. Each of our fourths were cut into 5 pieces. So that means we now have 20ths. And this 1/5 was cut into, 1/4 was cut into 5 pieces. So it gives us 5 20ths. So, all right, so I'm going to move that a little bit out of the way. Move them out of the way. And our 3/4 is no longer 3/4. Our 3/4 is now 12 20ths. Our 1/4 is no longer 1/4. It is 5 20ths. And the subtraction is the difference between these two colors. So I'm just going to subtract 12 20ths minus 5 20ths. And that gives us, what, 7 20ths? And heck, we can even check. Let's see. We can even see them right here. Here's where they're even. And then we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at that. It worked out. And that wraps up a nice little ditty of a video where students are using tape diagrams to cut them up into equal parts in order to subtract.